Support for Wider FM comes from Pedal Bicycles, now with 2 locations in downtown Kalamazoo and Portage. Pedal Bicycles has the right bike for every Kalamazoo rider, whether you're blazing the trails, cruising the streets, or just getting off the training wheels. To keep your ride running smooth, Pedal Bicycles offers multiple levels of repair services, anything from a quick tune-up to a complete overhaul. And to keep you safe and looking fly, Pedal Bicycles has all of the gear and apparel you'll need. To discover your spin within, head to 185 Romans Road in Portage, 611 West Michigan Avenue in downtown Kalamazoo, or pedalbicycle.com. Thanks, Pedal Bicycle, for supporting sustainable transportation, Buns of Steel, and Radio Evolution.
It's time for our weekly RSO Spotlight here on WIDR Kalamazoo.
Hi, I'm Jose Alexis Mejia.
And I'm Cesar Ortiz.
And we're the brothers of Sigma Lambda Beta International Fraternity Incorporated. We were founded here at Western Michigan University, April 3rd, 1988.
Our 4 pillars are brotherhood, scholarship, community service, and cultural awareness. Our mission statement is to nurture and further a dynamic, value-based environment which utilizes our historically Latino-based fraternity as a catalyst to better serve the needs and wants of all people.
And we strive for higher education, so if you want to contact us at wmubetas@gmail.com and Facebook and Instagram, WMUbetas. Thank you.
This has been our weekly RSO Spotlight here on WIDR Kalamazoo. For more Spotlight coverage, head to Western Herald or YBot Connects on Twitter. To find more information on how to spotlight your RSO, head to WIDRFM.org.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is once again that time of the week. We'll be dropping truth bombs left and right. It is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 FM, WIDR Kalamazoo. Now let's start the program as I typically do. The following thoughts, views, and opinions are not necessarily those of 89.1 FM, WIDR Kalamazoo, or Western Michigan University. So, lots of stuff to talk about this week. The weekend in particular was a very busy one. Downtown in the park, there were 2 different rallies. On Saturday, there was the sister rally / march, or you call it a satellite march, I suppose, to coincide with the march in Washington. And there were climate marches all over the world. I don't believe it's quite as large as the Keep It in the Ground event from last year. I would have to look that up. I do know that the turnout was very sizable. And in a sense of, I don't know if you would call it poetry or just foreshadowing, I guess. The march in Washington, which is right at the end of April, they were dealing with 90-degree weather. That is very early in the year to hit those kind of temperatures. Of course, if you've been paying attention to climate issues for some time, you'll know that for the last several years, each subsequent year has been the hottest on record. Last year certainly was, and we might, in fact, be gearing up to do the same this year. So, there were a lot of folks downtown Saturday. I was there myself. And for a cold and rainy day in Kalamazoo, I was very impressed. I'd say there was about 200 or so people. They had little umbrella tents perched out and around the park so that people wouldn't get too soggy. And a lot of different speakers came up to talk about what is going on with climate. And there were a couple in particular that really got my attention. And I wanted to play an excerpt. This is one of the speakers from the Kalamazoo Climate Rally slash March. This is Chris Wemoff, who, if you'll remember, was actually a guest on our program a couple of weeks ago. He talked about his personal experience, and frankly, I think it was one of the most powerful speeches at this rally. So I'll go ahead and play it, and then I'll come back, talk a little bit more about it.
I was asked to come and say what it's like to be an impacted resident. So this is what I need to do first. This is what, you'll hear me. This is what common. Thanks, y'all. I was asked to come and say what it's like to be an impacted resident. So this is what I need to do first. This is what, you'll hear me. I grew up on the Kalamazoo River. And like almost everybody else here, when the spill happened, I heard it was under control, and I said, okay. In spring of 2012, Michigan State said it was okay to go in the Kalamazoo River. They said it was okay to swim. They said it was okay to fish in the Kalamazoo River. That week was the first time I went out to the river because somebody told me that they were burying oil, and I didn't believe them. I took a step 10 inches into the river I grew up with. After looking at the river, I couldn't recognize. And I sank in an oil slick that was covered up by sand. And when I was pulled up, my leg was covered in oil. I threw up for the next 3 days. And a month later, I got a rash. In 2014, that rash became a rare disease. It's called hidradenitis suppurativa. It took me 8 months to be able to say it. Lo and behold, even though it's only supposed to be present in 0.02% of the population, I'm the 9th person I know along the river to get it. I can't tell you the amount of lives that are lost because Enbridge signed legal waivers and it'll hurt their families. They involve children. They involve our emergency services in Battle Creek that nobody warned had toxic chemicals. We are in a bad spot in Kalamazoo. We have to look locally. I'm from Edison, and there is disproportionate effects to the colored community. And it's important to think globally. But after this happened to me, I started listening to people, and I learned from somebody named Gracie Boggs, who wrote a book called The Next American Revolution. She said, change begins in the mirror. We can know that there are all of these corporations. They can have all the money. If you believe in yourself, it can't stop you. She said, then change goes in your house. You cannot change the world if you can't talk to your family about racism, if you can't talk to your family about climate change, if you can't talk to your family about environmental justice. and then change goes down your street. We cannot deal with Trump until we deal with Kalamazoo. We cannot go after Schneider until we deal with the fact that his puppet master, Bill Parfait, has taken this city.
Yeah.
We cannot deal with the EPA going wrong until we acknowledge there's a toxic waste dump at the end of my street. They want to make a park. We heard a long time ago people say power to the people. Say it with me. Power to the people. Again. Power to the people. Scream it.
Power to the people. To the people. Power to the people. The people.
Yeah, that was Chris Wemoff, probably the most electrifying speech at the climate rally on Saturday. Also, if you're curious what he was talking about with Bill Parfait, well, that we talked about that several weeks ago. He was on the show for an interview, and give me just a sec. I can look up the exact date if you're curious, but what he's referencing there is the Excellence Foundation, and how one of the main contributors to it, Bill Parfait, is a very conservative Republican. He's part of, he's got connections with Rick Snyder. And there's that whole kind of troubling aspect to it of, well, like, who is giving us all this money? What do they want for it? Also, something that he didn't explicitly mention is that Bill Parfait used to be on the board of corporations like Monsanto, MCR Research, who do not really have a very good track record when it comes to, well, how they how they treat the environment of the places where they set up shop. So, yeah, I'll let you know in just a sec. This stupid thing with the. All right. Oh, wait. Okay, it was in March. I know that. Oh, yeah. The show from March 29th. And you'll find that on our Facebook page, or our YouTube page. Although I do always post the show to the Facebook page as well. But yeah, that's March 29th. If you want a more in-depth discussion of that, and my co-host Lawrence just showed up, and you showed up. It was very interesting because I was about to talk about like environmental racism. That's something that Chris kind of touched on. Wanted to point that out again. That is something that's happened here locally, Edison neighborhood. I grew up there. That's where Chris lives. And, I think we've talked on the show a couple times about how there's that toxic waste dump site, the Allied Paper Plant that used to be there. And how, for years there was like this discussion about what to do with it. And what eventually ended up happening is they buried it. And now they want to build a park over it. And they built a family health center right next to it. Which is, that's great. Ooh, yeah, because nothing bad will happen if you build a park on top of a toxic waste dump.
I mean, if you look at East Chicago, Indiana, nothing bad will happen if we put this apartment structure over a lead smelting have a lead smelting foundation. None of the kids are going to have lead poisoning, even though it's twice as much as Flint. We can even speaking of Flint, even in Flint, where some of the old factories are waste zones. They know better. They know what what is in the land. They know that it's not safe to live upon or to be to be building anything upon, because they don't want those health risks there. And it doesn't make sense in any sense, especially in Flint, if we were talking about it, but also environmental racism. Would any of this be happening in a well-off neighborhood? Like I lived on the north side all my life. We had the peppermint mill, the peppermint factory, the factory over there when I was younger. You've always you had different factories that's always operated on the north side, but Michigan law states that the fumes and the smoke that comes from out of the factories, we cannot know what's going in it. Mm-hmm. Yet we have residents that live near these places, and then you'll wonder why someone like myself who has asthma, or other kids who have breathing problems or things like that, people are getting sicker, and they're living next to these next to these factories and stuff, and we're not allowed to know what's going on or what's being put into the air that we have to breathe. And it wouldn't happen. It would not happen in Ann Arbor, or it would not happen if this was even up north. If it was in Traverse City or one of the more affluent neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. See, I'm trying to pull up. There's a specific quote. I might have to paraphrase a little bit. One of my colleagues, Chelsea Lyons, she's somebody I met during the political revolution last year. But yeah, she was encamped over at the Promise Camp in Flint, with reporting with Truth Against the Machine. She's still out there actually. But one of her observations about it, she was talking about how difficult it is for the people of Flint, just your day to day. I think we all hear the stories of Flint. Unless you're actually there, you don't understand how much of a pain and a chore and an absolute injustice it is you always have to boil your water. You can't do your laundry in most of the Flint area unless you go to basically across the tracks to the good upscale suburbs outside of Flint. That is, she said, that's what they would have to do when they needed to use water for her and her media team.
Let me break that down for people. The average American uses about 100 gallons of water a day. 100 gallons. So what that means is, for all the clothes you have to wash, the food you have to clean and chop, washing your dishes, brushing your teeth, taking a bath, majority of that water, or use the bathroom at all, majority of that water for a lot of Flint residents is using that while using water bottles. I know I have family members that still live in Flint, and I was just up there recently. I didn't go to the Promise Camp, but I'm definitely, next time I'm going up there, I will definitely be there. It's insane that we have poisoned an American city. As much as we talk about terrorism overseas, right? We talk about ISIS and how dangerous they are, and they've only killed 8 Americans officially. And Rick Snyder and their administration has killed 10 and hospitalized over 86. Mm-hmm. So, right. I mean, and also on top of that, when we talk about environmental racism, Flint residents, as of yesterday, have been getting notices from the Treasury Department in Flint, saying that if they do not pay their water bill, the overdue water bills, that the city will put tax liens on their houses, basically starting the process so they can foreclose and take their houses. Think about that. Where's the logic in that? To punch down on people who are poisoned, and then tell the people who are poisoned by the water that the city changed. And now the city's like, hey, poison people, you need to pay us for your overdue water bill, or we're going to take your house.
But Lawrence, I thought the water's okay. Everybody got Brita filters, and Obama drank some on live TV.
Okay, there's been multiple studies that have shown that these water filters fail that they fail if hot waters ran through them. That the multiple filters do not work. They don't pick up chloroform. Chloroform, the thing that people will put over your face so you pass out. It doesn't. They don't. That these filters also don't pick up a lot of the lead. So it's not safe to drink. And Michael Moore said it best. When President Obama did that media stunt, let's just call it what it is, a media stunt, saying that the water is clean to drink, and he drank that water. Michael Moore said that was one of the saddest moments he's ever seen in his life. That was one of the saddest moments that he's seen from a president that he supported. If the fact that is they're charging people who are poisoned. First at town halls, they arrest people at the town halls in Flint for speaking up, being poisoned. They've told the people at the camps, which came out 2-3 days ago, that if they don't leave the camp by Monday, that the police will arrest them, even though they are peacefully protesting. So this is going to be another Standing Rock type issue, because Governor Rick Snyder does not like the fact that there is a Standing Rock type of issue in Flint. That Rick Snyder, Governor, let's be clear. Governor Rick Snyder gave a $1.7 billion tax cut to the multinational corporations that helped him get elected. They gave a $1 billion tax cut since he came in. Since he's been in office, I think it's around 7.8, around $8.5 billion.
Yep.
$8.5 billion. That could have stayed in Michigan and could have stayed in the revenue of Michigan to fix these piping problems now. But what he did was he went to the federal government and went to Obama, even though Republicans don't like federal handouts.
Oh no.
But
free market take care of it.
Right. The free market will take care of it, right?
Yeah.
But he went to the federal government for aid, and they still not implementing it. Not only are they not implementing the changes to the water pipes, there was an appeal by the state, because Governor Rick Snyder was told that he needs to give water door to door to the residents of Flint. He appealed it. They said you need to be giving fresh, clean water to these people, and he's still not doing that. On top of that, Governor Rick Snyder is trying to allow Nestle to take fresh water from the Great Lakes.
I almost wonder if he realizes he's got no political career after this, so he's just
no. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
We're not gonna give a major city in my state clean water. We're not gonna change their lead pipes. But hey, Nestle, Fortune 500 company that helped me get elected. You want to take fresh water out of the Great Lakes?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Go ahead. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. That's wonderful. Oh God.
I will say it's interesting that you bring that up, because one of the things I've noticed really getting tapped into local activism here and around the state is that people there's more of a transpartisan consensus around environmental issues. People have a lot of respect for our fresh water around here, even a lot of conservative types. I went to Fred Upton's office in Washington last week, and I was talking to this assistant who, by the time we were done, her face was so red, asking all these questions.
I'm so mad that I was not there.
Yeah. It was a thing of beauty, my friend.
So you went to Rick Snyder's. So you went to Upton's office.
Upton's office. Yeah. And she gave a lot of lip service to Fred he wants to protect the lakes. And to his credit, he did when Trump wanted to defund the money we get from the federal government that helps with the lakes cleanup. He did come out and say, no, we need that. And he even went so far as to say that, that's one of Fred's top priorities, keeping the lakes clean. Although I will mention he did recently sign into law, it was a repeal of the Keep Streams Clean Act. I'm paraphrasing. I've got it somewhere in my notes. But he voted to repeal a law that put EPA oversight on creeks and streams. I brought that up. The assistant was very kind of caught off guard.
Yeah, I mean, this is Fred Upton. Fred Upton, who is a climate change denier who has been taking large amounts from multinational oil companies.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a man who has a worse record on environmental issues than our current head of the EPA.
Yeah,
and
he's also the head of the energy. What is it? He's in the Energy Council Committee in the House. That's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A man who's a part of the Energy Council Committee that denied climate science. That is literally like having Jack the Ripper the head of Health and Human Services. Like that's like.
Well, I would say like that's the thing I discovered really about Fred Upton. I kind of already knew this, but even more so than a lot of politicians that I've met or studied or talked to or talked about, he is a chameleon. Because when there were a bunch of like leftist activists in his office, oh yeah, he's really concerned about climate change and he's going to do something to stop it.
But you're again. This is people think that because we live in the age of information, that because they can pull up some BS stat one time, that we can't pull up other things that will completely and utterly debunk that BS. And this goes back to the environmental racism. Why is it that he's trying to in a Kalamazoo where a lot of his voters are in the rural areas that really need the lakes and streams clean for their cattle or for whatever, that he would do something that will detrimentally harm them, his own constituents. And you would think that would be that this type of logic or these type of facts or these type of actions would cause more of a stir. But again, when's the last time Channel 3 talked about that?
Oh yeah, exactly.
When's the last time any mainstream any media in Michigan has brought up those issues?
Yeah, you really hit it right on the head. There's a lot of the stuff that goes on locally, and I will give credit that there's certain things that Channel 3 will cover, but they are a lot more skittish about things that directly point at local politicians, representatives, and criticize them.
Even though that's the role of the media.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the role. That
is the guidelines of the media. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to hold the powerful accountable. Mm-hmm. That's the number one role of the media. Yeah. When you're not being a watchdog, you are now a pet. You are a guard dog.
That's right. Oh man, that is a good.
Like when you are no longer like, and that's the thing. Like it's messed up that this is the reason why a lot of legacy TV and a lot of media on TV is dying, because a lot of people get their information online because there's a free flow of information. There's also a reason why Trump and company trying to kill net neutrality, but that's a totally different conversation. Now, when it comes to environmental racism, we'll bring up Flint, or you can even talk about things like in East Chicago, in Indiana, or the fact that the EPA has come out and said that there are 30% of our country has lead levels just as high as Flint. 30%. 30%. So that means in Brooklyn, in LA, in Houston, in Jackson, Mississippi, in Chicago, in major populations, a lot of the water that they're drinking is not clean. In the most powerful nation on the planet, in the richest, most powerful nation on planet Earth, you have people in segments of our country that live like it's a third world country, that lives worse than what it would be in a third world country.
I saw like somebody put it was a tweet or something I saw shared on Facebook, and it was something along the lines of like, Some places in this country don't have clean water. Police brutalize people. People are living on starvation wages. America is a third world country with iPhones.
That's absolutely real.
Yeah.
That's absolutely real.
All right, well, we'll be right back. I gotta play a couple of these little bumpers here, and then we will get back in the discussion. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.
It may not be apparent, but hunger's a rather prominent issue amongst the student body of Western. The Invisible Need Project is a multifaceted initiative that's aimed to help struggling students. Every 2 weeks, generous people donate their food to the pantry located in the Fawn Student Service buildings or other drop-off locations. All you need to do is grab a reusable bag and grab whatever food you need to help sustain yourself. If anyone's unsure when their next meal will be, or if you have a little extra food you'd be willing to donate, the food pantry is your place. If you're looking to help donate, become a volunteer, or just learn more, call 269-387-4742 or email dosa-inp@wmich.edu for details.
Are you trying to get your local Kalamazoo business name out to the WMU and Greater Kalamazoo communities? Why not do so while supporting Radio Evolution through underwriting and donations? For more information, please visit widrfm.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a moment. Keep your dial locked. More Hoodrat Strategist radio program. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's Hoodrat Strategist radio program. So this is going to tie into a couple of different topics, but we're going to aim our Hoodrat sights. I've got my sniper rifle of truth. And we got DNC right there. Yeah. They've been they've been tripping up. They need a dose of vitamin truth. That's what it is.
What they need is a whooping. They need an old school grandma whooping. That's what they need. A child go get the switch whooping. That's what they need.
Yeah, so I would suppose they probably need that more than I mean, I guess they just want to go in the back room and smoke some cigars. But,
right. Speaking of that. The if you didn't know about the DNC lawsuit that's been going on, where a number of DNC voters from the primary were suing the DNC because the DNC failed to obey the laws of their own charter, and the DNC lawyer was basically saying that the rules on their charter is basically a framework for them to throw out of a window whenever they feel like.
Yeah.
And I'm quoting this because I am not joking. Andy just said it. The lawyer said, hypothetically speaking, that they could have went into a back room and smoked cigars and picked the DNC candidate, no matter what the vote would have been. That is undemocratic, coming from the Democratic Party.
Yeah. There's a really good article that sums a lot of this up. Counterpropa.com, and it was Zach Haller who really put this together. But yeah, he squared in on some very interesting insights that I didn't even get. I read through the court document. And some of this stuff escaped me, but one of the things they threw out there was this idea that it should not be the court's business to make a determination on this, because it would basically he said Judge William J. Zlock, who's recently promoted to the senior bench, said that the lawsuit should be dismissed outright because litigating the DNC's business would drag the court right into political squabbles. Zlock, appointed by Ronald Reagan in 1985, is told by the judge there'd be no way to constitutionally to offer redress despite this being the court's one job. And what that means is the court they're in, that's what they do. Political litigation. That is literally why they're there. So
that's like telling Judge Judy, Judge, I don't think you need to be entering the business of me and my wife, even though me and my wife is here.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to get into our squabbles.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they basically said they feel like their argument. And I really want people to understand this because I still, in the mainstream media, there is subtle and overt attempts to gaslight anyone and everyone who says, "Oh, there was fraud, there was rigging in the Democratic primary." Even the mainstream outlets, Washington Post, New York Times, they'll say things like, and Bernie Sanders supporters who believe that the primary was rigged. Jimmy Dore said something. I was listening to one of his videos the other day, and he's like, well, I believe that 2 + 2 is 4, but, it's not a belief. It's a fact. There's evidence. Mountains of evidence that the mainstream media itself presented when the WikiLeaks dropped. They're like, oh, this is a good story. And it's Orwellian because, months later, it wasn't actually rigged. Well, even though we wanted to tell you that story to get some ratings, and then the Clinton machine were like, "Why did you talk about that?"
Well, I mean, from the head of Clinton's campaign being at parties with the mainstream media floating them stories, from the DNC chair at the time, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, saying on the news media all the time that they were being impartial when she was going to mainstream media telling them that we will not come and talk to you if you do not give us better, more friendly coverage of Hillary Clinton, from Donna Brazile, who became the interim chair, passing questions to Hillary Clinton, the Hillary Clinton campaign, from the DNC by and large, purging the voters, celebrating closed primaries, basically using the DCCC as a way to fund money from the campaign victory fund, to Hillary Clinton herself, from Tom Perez pushing the Bernie bro narrative, from them atheist shaming Bernie Sanders in the Midwest. And this is all being, instead of them talking about the systemic corruption that the DNC does, the mainstream media will not do that, but they will talk about Russia. And they will talk about how Russia has interfered in the election. How did Russia interfere in the election? They allegedly gave WikiLeaks these emails, and WikiLeaks, as a media organization, ran with it and told the truth.
You know, it's funny because like Hillary Clinton recently came out of the woods again, and she actually, to her credit, for the first time, she said, "I take responsibility for my loss," and then she immediately started talking about Russia and James Comey, but.
Okay, wait.
The funny thing is, like, her whole thing was like, you know, if the WikiLeaks and James Comey, if that hadn't happened, I probably would have won. So if the truth hadn't come out, you would have won. That's what you're saying.
If she would have came to Michigan and Wisconsin and told blue collar workers why they should vote for her instead of having Bernie Sanders come out here for her, then then maybe they would have voted for her. Maybe if, while she was telling bankers, you're being harassed. Yeah, you're being you shouldn't. Don't feel that bad. And when I get into office, I want you to help me fix the economy. Yeah. You're going to ask the people who destroyed the economy to help you fix it now. That's like if I robbed your house, you called me the next day and saying, "Hey, Lawrence, can you help me install a security system in my house? I know that you stole everything out my house, but will you help me install this security system?"
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like, too, if you, not just hypothetically, let's say you ran a campaign on, putting a foot down on Wall Street, and then, you know, after you get done, you go do a speech for $450,000.
Jesus. Okay.
We're winding around too much, man. We're talking about all this.
Right. Okay. Briefly speaking about now, just okay. I want to speak on that in a hot second. Briefly going back to this charter, to this lawsuit. The thing that makes me upset is not the fact that the lawyer from the DNC is technically right in some aspects of how the DNC is ran. It's the fact that how is this going to affect 2018 and 2020?
Yeah.
Because Elizabeth Warren has been putting out signs that she will be running. She just put out a book. She's been much more outspoken. She's been with Bernie Sanders on a lot of the Bernie Sanders policies with the free college, with Medicare for all. She's basically putting her foot down like, nah, y'all messed up. I'm coming out of the woodwork. Now, if she runs and Bernie runs, that could split the progressive left. And that could be a problem. But at the same time, if the DNC is now acting like, well, you know, we want Tim Kaine or Cory Booker to run, so we're going to put all our support behind Tim Kaine and Cory Booker, even though we're going to tell the rest of the world that we're being nonpartisan, that we're being neutral. The systemic corruption of this court case is what worries me. That one, the DNC has not learned a darn thing. That two, that the establishment wing of the party is still trying to hold on to power, even though the most popular senator with the most popular policies is an independent from Vermont who came back from a 60-point lead to almost win, and he has the nation behind him.
He does. Most popular politician in America.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, that's the thing that makes me that bothers me about this court case. I'm like, it's something that the Young Turks talked about before, is what Cenk Uygur said. The DNC is the Washington Generals to the Republicans' Harlem Globetrotters. They are choosing to lose. They are paid to lose, yes. And it's systemic. It's systemic. It's systemic for them to do so because it's in their financial interest to do so. That's why they have no problem kneecapping the people who are the most popular people, or smearing them, or basically taking away democracy from the people, as long as they still keep their jobs. They will rather have someone like Trump be in office and still keep their jobs instead of letting a progressive run and actually fighting for progressive policies, because it will hurt their bottom line and their donors' bottom line.
And you know, it's funny that you mentioned that's going on right now. We just had that happen in it was Kansas.
Yeah.
And there's another case of that going on. Rob Quist, he's in striking distance of taking down his Republican challenger. He could use some support from the DNC, but he is part of the progressive wave that kind of, caught fire under New Deal Grandpa. So
New Deal Grandpa.
Yeah. So we're starting to see this trend.
Would you want to know where the money has been going? In Kansas though, they did not back the guy in Kansas, and he was within 1 point of winning. The Republicans came down. Trump was doing robocalls. He ended up losing by 6 points in one of the most reddest states in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of giving money to them, but Bernie Sanders went down there and helped, and other progressives went down there and helped. The DNC has been giving money to Claire McCaskill. Claire McCaskill, the person who voted for Neil Gorsuch, the person who's voted for most of Trump's cabinet picks, who's a Democrat. They've been giving money to her. Like, have you lost your cotton picking mind?
I don't know if maybe they didn't really have one to begin with. I don't know. There's a certain and I try to explain this to a lot of people who, there's times where their commitment to establishment status quo politics is greater than their desire to be a strong party or to win. And one of the reasons that the Democrats have become so decimated in the last couple of years is that although the Republicans' agenda is terrible for working people, they have a certain intellectual honesty about them. They're like, this is what we believe. Free market all day. Government is bad. We're going to trust the corporations. And we're also going to play up a couple of key social ideological issues, throw in some dog whistle racism. And there you go. And all the Democrats do is okay, we're going to offer a diet version of that. Throw a coexist bumper sticker on it and send it out the door.
The Democrats, in many ways, a majority of them, and what I've said is the Democrats are Republicans who are okay with minorities and gay people, and and it bothers me because this is supposed to be the resistance. This is supposed to be the opposition party. The opposition party is acting is saying we need to unite. We need unity. But we're going to unify under the status quo that got us here in the first place.
And, this is everybody. Even the most, hardcore Hillary supporters that I remember from, the primaries and the general and beyond, they are really irritated that the Democrats are not putting up more of an opposition to the Trump administration.
Some of them are still smearing Bernie Sanders, and the ones I'm talking about. If you, why? Why are you good? You're continuing to smear Bernie Sanders, the only person who is actually pushing for progressive policies, who's actually done more effective stuff than Trump.
Yeah.
Like within the first 100 days.
He's actually trying to fulfill his campaign promises as a senator.
Right. What you mean?
Yeah.
No, but the one thing, just one quick thing. There's a war that will be happening in the Democratic Party. If you saw the interview with Tom Perez and Bernie Sanders sitting side by side talking about Medicare for all, and Tom Perez was a cliche platitude machine, and Bernie Sanders is actually talking about
hope on the ballot.
When we put hope on the ballot, we win. And when he said that, and even Chris Hayes said, "Tom, stop it, stop." Chris Hayes, who's been helping in this propaganda of Russia, even told Tom, "Your cliches is killing me, bro." No, but here's the thing. The last thing, this war, and this is the war. You have people who believe that you can take corporate money and do the neoliberalism that was the Bill Clinton administration and the Obama administration, and they think that that's fine. You have that wing of the party, and that is the establishment wing versus the progressive wing. And the progressive wing will win because the progressive wing's policies and message is that we're not corrupt. We are not beholden to donors. We're working for the people. And when that message gets out there, more people will start going towards them instead of going to the status quo. Yes, Trump is bad. Am I mad? Am I mad that he's president? Yes. Am I upset? Am I to blame for it because I didn't vote for Hillary and I voted for Jill Stein? No. Because we told you. Progressives told you that he was bad. People told you that he was bad. And you chose to vote for a candidate and go with the status quo. The Democratic establishment chose to push down the most corporatist Democrat that we could think of, and they lost to Trump. They have lost 69 out of 99 legislatives. They lost the White House, the Senate. They lost the Congress, and they lost the Supreme Court. They have a record of incompetence going against the worst politician in U.S. history, who had a 37% approval rating on the day of the election. And if the election was held today, he would still win. So what that means is that the Democratic Party needs to change or they will be destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. And, you know, as somebody like... after the election, I hopped on the whole like Dem Enter strategy. You know, kind of sees the political terrain of the Democratic Party right after the election was pretty wiped out. There was a good opportunity to fill a lot of open positions that had just been abandoned after all the establishment people basically went home. And what we're seeing now is, though, there's kind of like two parallel movements going on. One is this reformation inside the party, and then a lot of people have been pushing this idea to start a new party altogether. People like Cornel West, Josh Fox.
The Draft Bernie Party.
The Draft Bernie Party.
You have the Draft Bernies, you have the Green Party, you have the Democratic Socialists who are pushing from the outside. And then you have the Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, United Nurses Union, that's pushing from the inside. You need both.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely need both. And if the progressives were smart, if the progressives were smart, Tulsi Gabbard, Keith Ellison, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Nina Turner, if they were smart, they would join the Justice Democrats. Because the Justice Democrats, or that party from the inside, the progressive wing, because this country is going to is having a populist moment.
It sure
Either
is,
it's going to go right or left. Now, if it goes right, we're going to have more of this dog whistle Republican racism and Republican policies. Or if it's left, then we can actually have systemic change.
And, you know, that's the whole thing about it is, you know, you look at where the money at the election went, and, you know, the oligarchy prefers people like Trump over people like Bernie Sanders or Jeremy Corbyn or whatnot. They prefer people like Marine Le Pen and all that, because while they are socially, they're just a disaster. These rich people don't have to live in these communities that are going to be affected the most by these racist, xenophobic leaders. They get to harvest the benefits of the profit and the profits from fear that are generated from these personalities. Whereas these movements coming from the left, that directly challenges their power. And I think moving forward, anybody who's part of like a leftist movement, whether you're, Justice Democrats, Green, social, got to understand, while the model that's often referred to is like, oh, we need like a Tea Party of the left, or, people on the left need to get more aggressive. There's always going to be that extra intensity with the pushback because you are taking on the power structure. And they've had 40 years to cement and entrench themselves. I would advise my listeners, look up the Powell memo. That was drafted as a former justice the Supreme Court, and he basically laid out a 40-year plan for corporations to focus not just on profits but also political power, which is where we're at right now. And when Bill Clinton ran in the 90s, that closed the door towards progressive politics for a generation because he told this new line, we're going to be on the left, but we're going to do business with Wall Street and big corporations and pass these disastrous trade deals that have turned us, as we said earlier, into a third world country with smartphones.
I couldn't even say it better myself. It's the fact that money is killing our politics. If you support Wolfpack or things like that wants to call for a constitutional convention and get money out of politics, do that. If you want to do another organization, anything except Common Cause. Common Cause is a bunch of liars. Don't do that. But if you want to see real change, we have to call for a convention to get money out of politics. We have to redo not just Citizens United, but Buckley v. Vallejo. And we also have to push back against these gradualist neoliberalisms. As Martin Luther King once said, we come to these hollow lands for the fierce urgency of now. We do not have the luxury of a cooling off or to take the tranquil drug of gradualism. We cannot. We have to. We don't have any other choice, because if we do not only will our planet not be inhabitable, but no, that's the worst thing. Our planet, we will not be able to survive on this planet. That's the worst thing that I can think of. No.
No pressure, everyone.
No pressure, right?
But this is a. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for coming on, Lawrence. Appreciate your wisdom and your insight. I'll cap that off by just saying, wrapping up some of these notes on this lawsuit here. Again, a lot of their tactics are just so transparently bizarre and egregious. They try to debate on the legal validity of terms like impartial and even-handed, which again is language that they put in their own charter. And they basically try to argue that these terms are too vague and nebulous to really be defined in a court of law to be legally enforceable. I'll read. This is what the DNC lawyers said. First, I just want to say, because in response to my hypothetical that the party could choose its nominees in a smoke-filled room, I just want to reiterate that the party ran the process fair and impartially, which, again, there is mountains and mountains of evidence to say no.
You purged the voters in New York City, and you told multiple voters all over the country that they had to pre-register to be a Democrat to go and vote, and you celebrated the fact that a lot of primaries were closed so that the establishment people in the party can vote for Clinton. This was not fair.
So this lawyer just says, well, it wasn't, I just want to make clear, it was it was fair and impartial, even though you can't really define those legally. But then he follows that up by saying, but these, again, are political choices that either party is free to make and are not enforceable in a court of law. He's like, who are they enforceable to? They're the Democratic Party. Aren't you supposed to be democratic? Is that how it's supposed to work?
If your job tells you to come to work on time, and you tell them, well, these rules are clearly undefined in the rules in the policy of the job, I don't have to go by these words, because as a member of this organization, I can choose to follow these rules or not follow these rules as I see fit. Yeah. Your job would fire you.
Yeah.
Like, no. You had one job to do, DNC. You had one job to do, and you failed.
Yeah.
In the establishment, you had one job to do. You failed. Please, leave the building.
Here's another golden quote. This is the judge. He said, Are you suggesting that this is just part of the business, so to speak, that it's not unusual for, let's say, the DNC or the RNC to take sides with respect to any particular candidate and to support that candidate over another? And then Mr. Spiva, the DNC's lawyer, responds by saying, oh, I'm not suggesting that, Your Honor. But what I am suggesting is to have those kinds of allegations is the rough and tumble of politics. The rough and tumble. Yeah. Look, I think I see our democracy tumbling roughly away in that direction.
Yeah, over
right.
Yeah, over a cliff and on spikes that are on fire.
Yeah, pretty much.
I gotta go. I love y'all. I'll see y'all probably next week. Peace.
All right. See you, Lawrence. Have a good one. Okay, we're gonna go to a quick break. But yeah, just in a nutshell, folks. If next time somebody tries to tell you, oh, the primaries weren't rigged, just remember this. Look it up. Counterpropa does a really good analysis of it. Again, that's counterpropa.com. Article is 7 jaw-dropping revelations from hearings on the motion to dismiss the DNC fraud lawsuit. And is there anything else I want to touch on here? Well, the judge did say in his closing statement that democracy demands the truth. So, that is a good sign. Hopefully, we will see some motion on this court case, see some justice done. Personally, I gave New Deal Grandpa a lot of my vacuum pennies. Not that I necessarily even want to see those pennies come back my way, but that's taking a little sidebar here, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot and lately, and in particular, I've been thinking about. We're going to be airing like a special report on the 2016 primaries. I wanted it to coincide with the anniversary of the California primary. And one of the things that I really want to focus on is, this is an emotional story. It's not just some political drama that is somehow distant from people's lives. This candidate, that campaign was unique in the sense that you had a lot of people investing their heart and soul. Not time because they thought he would be a good president or because they were a Democrat. It was because fundamentally they believed in the message. There were homeless people, women, moms sleeping in cars who gave their hard-earned money, some of their last dollars to that campaign. People who worked 80, 90 hours a week canvassing every day, people who traveled across the country to volunteer for this campaign. And I met many, many of those over the course of last year. They stole the election not from Bernie Sanders, but from each and every one of those people, including myself. The justice does not need to be made for Bernie Sanders. It needs to be made for the movement he started. because they took the hopes and wishes and struggle of those people and spit on it and stamped it under their foot, and then act shocked when they lose the election and wondering what does the party need to do. Well, maybe you need to acknowledge that you spat in the face of the biggest political insurgency in American politics in this century. Maybe that's what you need to do. All right. Going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.
Hey, this is These United States, which is a band playing for you our instruments backwards. Now we're going to speak with you briefly backwards for a moment while we play our instruments for you forwards. You're listening to
WIDR 99.1 Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Radio Forwards.
WIDR FM is proud to be supported by the Kalamazoo Community Foundation. The Kalamazoo Community Foundation is a non-profit organization that takes donations, invests them, and uses the money to fund programs for the betterment of the Kalamazoo community. If you are interested in donation or looking for more info, you can go to kalfound.org.
It's time for our weekly RSO Spotlight here on WIDR Kalamazoo.
Hi, I'm Jose Alexis Mejia.
And I'm Cesar Ortiz.
And we're the brothers of Sigma Lambda Beta International Fraternity Incorporated. We were founded here at Western Michigan University, April 3rd, 1988.
Our four pillars are brotherhood, scholarship, community service, and cultural awareness. Our mission statement is to nurture and further a dynamic, value-based environment which utilizes our historically Latino-based fraternity as a catalyst to better serve the needs and wants of all people.
And we strive for higher education, so if you want to contact us at wmubetas@gmail.com and Facebook and Instagram, WMU Betas. Thank you.
This has been our weekly RSO Spotlight here on WIDR Kalamazoo. For more Spotlight coverage, head to Western Herald or YBot Connects on Twitter. To find more information on how to spotlight your RSO, head to widrfm.org.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo. So we were just talking about the climate rally here in town. Talked a little bit about the DNC Fraud lawsuit that's going on. I wanted to pivot and talk about the other demonstration that happened earlier this week downtown. And that was, that was the Mayday rally at Bronson Park, supporting our local immigrant population. Of course, Mayday, for those of you who don't know, is traditionally it is a worldwide day that is, I don't really want to use the term celebrated, but it is a kind of general strike. It is a day coordinated by labor to protest, to fight, to bring attention to the plight of the working class. In previous years, there's been a huge focus on such fights as like Fight for 15. Domestic workers use that day to fight for their rights, to a fair wage. And this year, there was a particular emphasis on the undocumented and immigration workforce. And I'm going to read a little bit. This is from the Huffington Post. And they comment a little bit about the global context around this. So, backers of the May 1st protests saw this day as an ideal opportunity to challenge the Trump administration or its immigration crackdown. The president has promised to ramp up deportations of undocumented workers, strip federal funding from so-called sanctuary cities, and build a wall. So, the aim of this, May 1st was a general strike. Thousands and thousands of people, particularly undocumented immigrants across the country, stayed home. They did not go to work. They did not go to school. They did not buy anything. Me and Lawrence were talking about this while he was still here during one of the breaks, and it was causing a lot of problems in places like California and Texas, where they need that migrant work to really have business as usual, both on the farms and in the cities. Talking about a lot of low-wage jobs that undocumented people fill, and they just did not show up. And one of my community organizing colleagues, Nelly Fuentes, she was the one who was really on point with helping to organize this rally. And she said, the goal of this week-long strike, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but it is essentially to show the country this is what would happen without the immigrant population. And if it is as widespread, if it continues with as much intensity as it said, we'll see some prices go up on things at the grocery store. We will see an economic effect in our everyday lives, because those are the people who feed this country, who keep this country moving, who do that the sort of work that either average Americans do not want to do, or pay so low that they don't want to do it, which is also kind of a that is something you can point your finger at the big corporations for. And again, if you want to talk a little bit more about the systemic causes behind this sort of immigration, this is something that really is not talked about enough. Particularly, why do they come up from nations like Mexico and other countries in Latin America? And if you read your history about American imperialism, we've gone in and destroyed or distorted democratically elected governments. We have orchestrated coups. So most recently, I believe, Honduras, at least in this region of the world. We've trade deals that we have put in place, such as NAFTA, have economically disadvantaged Mexican corn farmers to such an extent that what do they have to do? Go up to America for work. These problems these issues don't come out of a vacuum. There is a reason that they come to America. It's not because they want to take our jobs. It is not because they do all these criminal things that the orange booger, yeah, that orange booger, who's the current president, says that they do. Actually, there's a lot of data to support the assertion that they actually commit less crime than documented citizens. And this follows some very basic logic. If you are in danger of being deported by ICE, you're probably going to try to stay out of trouble. Oh my goodness. So, that's a little bit of the context around it, and particularly, the urge to organize this rally around May Day is, the immigration customs enforcement. This is all across the country. It's here in Michigan. I've talked about it on the show and on my Facebook page. ICE has been here to Kalamazoo. There's only one actual arrest that I'm aware of, but they have been here. Even though Kalamazoo is a quote-unquote welcoming city. The broader net that they're putting out there, this idea that they're no longer targeting people with criminal records. It's just like whoever. Not only is that dehumanizing and a terrible policy just on a moral level, but on an economic level, that you are spitting in the eye. You are terrifying a workforce that this country needs, at least in the current form of craven capitalism that we're under. But we're already seeing this. Like in Michigan, there are a lot of farms, particularly in Berrien County, on the way to the lakeshore, that are having a lot of trouble finding work because usually they rely on migrant labor in order to pick their crops. But the migrant labor is too afraid to come up this year because of the rhetoric coming out of the Trump administration. There are help wanted signs, places there usually have never been help wanted signs before. So I want to play a clip. This is from the Mayday rally in the park. Unfortunately, I couldn't be to this one, but
thank you all for being here.
I wanted to make sure to get this in.
This is what I grew up believing in. The people taking the lead in their country, making their voices heard and taking action. For too long, I admired these ideals, but too rarely spoke up until I found people who understood. I am from a predominantly white, small town, significantly conservative, which kind of made it rough in this past election. But in that, I found that I could see the other side, and the other side often was ignorance, in that the problem does not affect me, and as such, like, the mentality maintained there was, if it doesn't affect me, if I don't see it, I don't have to do anything about it. And thank you all for being here. In high school, that was me. My family came from Mexico, and I'm a first-generation American, but too long my heritage was kept quiet. And too long, I didn't see the problems of people who looked like me because I wasn't in it. I was luxury to that ignorance as well. Until the day came where everybody looked at me when the topic of immigration, just speaking the word of immigration in my presence, I was suddenly the pink elephant in the room. But nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about how there are people who looked like me, but they lived lives in secret. They could not speak out. They were in the shadows. The DACA, the 11 million undocumented here who lived in fear for wanting a better life, the life that my parents were granted, both through different ways. My mother, she came here legally, so I guess too many would argue that she's not part of this slave. She's not who they're fighting. But my father, he eventually gained his papers under amnesty in Reagan. And he became part of this country, but even he knows that, like, the right for wanting to feed your families, to give your family a good home, this is what the fight needs to be and stay as. I don't want to turn a blind eye, and I know all of you don't want to either. But beyond today, where we group together, we need to find strength in each other, but we also need to find strength to start the conversations in those who don't think of us. We all have friends, we all have family who we know they're on the other side. who don't see the immigrants as human, who think because they are illegal, they are suddenly devoid of human rights, basic human rights, that their families aren't worth keeping together. We can't stay silent anymore. Like, I know it'll be hard. You might lose friends, but I urge you, I really do urge you to not just come to the rallies, to be in your day-to-day lives, to be vocal, to be on the forefront, because that's what a leader does. It's a 24/7 job. It will wear you down, but you will find strength in people here that you connect with. Like, you will find strength in your numbers. You will find strength in your voice, and then from that strength, we will find action. We will move to action. We will connect with our legislation. We will make sanctuaries. We can make sanctuary for those for the 11 million, because we have space. The solution proposed by administration is too easy, to shove the problem away, to ignore it, to send it off. But we have the strength. We have the strength to make space. It might take sacrifice. We might not be able to get a Starbucks coffee every day, hey, but that is the price I'm willing to pay if it means that a daughter is not split from her mother, that a son does not have... Thank you. This is what we need. We need to stand next to each other and support those who cannot, I'm losing my voice. We need to be the voices of America that can be, not the one that settles on the easy answers, but on the long, difficult journey to something better. If we are getting there. We're imagining it. We're taking the steps to make it reality. That is what it means to be American. That is what it means to be the American dream. To be united as a people, to traverse borders, to traverse politics and agendas. Because what we all want is to have our families together, to enjoy the moments together that we have. And to do that, we find strength in our communities. We need to expand our communities and reach out to people who don't exactly look like you, who might not think like you, but you all want the same thing, which is to find that unity. And what's what we want today for the 11 million undocumented who are here searching for a better future, just like my parents did, and how they came here. And I want to continue in their names, and everybody and all the parents who have sacrificed in their name for the children of the future, because to do anything else would be shameful. I do not want to turn a blind eye. It is hard, it is difficult, but it is our responsibility, and I want you to take that with you after today. Thank you.
That was Jacqueline Perez speaking Monday afternoon at Bronson Park at the rally, the Immigration Solidarity Rally that was held down there. So this episode, we're going to be ending a little bit early. I'll tell you guys what I'm in guys and gals and any gender non-normative folks out there. I'm going to be heading down to the county commission. There is a meeting there today. It started at 4, and then 7 o'clock, the official meeting begins. And there is going to be people gathered there to speak about Line 5, I believe also County ID. So it is a good way to interact with our local county representatives. Also, excuse me. If one is so inclined, Fred Upton has expressed support for the revised American, AHCA, American Health Care Act. And if that is something that you don't really approve of, please go to Pro-KZoo's Facebook page. They have some information And if you are free tomorrow afternoon, there is some stuff happening around that. Again, only if you are particularly interested. Anyway, I want to thank you all for joining us on the show. Thank Lawrence for stopping by and having some dynamic dialogue about the DNC. And, of course, what was going on with Flint and the Climate March. Props, again, to the folks who put on the Climate March and the immigration rally. It's always good to see people out there motivated, trying to make a difference here in Kalamazoo. Anyway, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Again, every week, Wednesday, 5 o'clock. We will be back again next week. If you are interested in getting more involved, we do have a Facebook page, Hoodrat Strategist Radio Program. Also, if you want to listen to previous episodes, you go to our YouTube channel. And if you would like to get more involved, please contact us through our Facebook page. We are trying to expand a little bit. Really try to get some more commentators and potentially some journalists on board. Doing this all myself, it's not necessarily always feasible. I keep myself pretty busy. I try to put on my fedora and muck rake as best as I can, but sometimes we need a little help from our friends. Anyway, I want to thank y'all for listening. Have a good week. Have a great weekend. And keep on fighting for that revolution solution.